mechanical parts are right, the engine guys are doing their job, and the drivers are keeping the car out of trouble, not getting wrecked. So that's a really good stat.
And while we're looking at the Verizon Wireless car, Verizon Wireless customers can text Champion to 43776 for exclusive Champion Chats content from the NASCAR Now Roundtable group. I think this week's talks about Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch and what happened to him at the All-Star race and how they're going to race with and against each other going forward.
It's going to be fun.
Yes, sir. So let's check back on that lead because Brad Keselowski continues to chip in to Kyle Busch's advantage. Down to just 0.7 of a second.
Yeah, Kyle's kind of catching traffic sometimes at the wrong place as a leader, and that when they do that, breaks your momentum a little bit, and that's really what these cars with these tapered spacers are all about, is keeping that momentum up.
You can see that interval, and it's just steadily shrinking. Just a 3/4 of a second now.
While we're watching Brad try to chase down Kyle, Mike's got more from the 22 pit.
Well, that's right, Alan. You guys were talking a little bit about Brad and how that car was going through kind of a sour phase here during the race. At one point, not too long ago, the car was tight center, loose off. They made an air pressure adjustment on the last stop. They took a ½ pound out of the right front, 4 tires on that car, and all of a sudden, the car is much different, much better. At the beginning of the race, they told him to save a little. I can assure you, he's not saving anything now, guys. Dave?
Hey, Mike, with 30 laps to go in this race, the final decision may be what to do if the caution comes out. Come down pit road or not, and what to do when you do come down pit road. Jason Ratcliffe and I talked this morning about that. He said, you know what, Darlington, I wanted Kyle to pit. His 3rd place is still under contention between Logano and the 12 of Justin Allgaier. He said, I wanted Kyle to pit at Darlington. He wanted to stay out. Ultimately, it didn't make a difference, but here he said, I think it will. The biggest decision is, if my car is close to the 18, I may just take 2. If my car needs work, I'll definitely take 4. We'll see what they do as the laps wind down. Right now, Kyle hasn't said anything, the leader, about his car.
And Dave, we talked about this strategy at the top of the day, and history tells us we're going to have another caution. The last green flag run in this race, in 11 of the last 12 here at Charlotte for the Nationwide Series, has been 12 laps or less.
And that's what the crew chiefs are doing. They're down on the box and they're thinking, okay, we're doing great. You can see Kyle Busch's car leading the race, but they're thinking, what are we going to do if that caution comes out? And are we going to change tires? Are we going to not change tires? You know, you never think it's going to wind up just running out at the end. There's going to be something that's going to throw you a curve.
You got to be ready. You got what, 30 seconds to make the decision, right?
That's right. That's why they make the big bucks.
That's right. So will that decision need to be made shortly? We'll find out after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Get close to seeing that checkered flag wave here at Charlotte Motor Speedway over today's NASCAR Nationwide Series race. Maybe it's just me, but you can feel a little tension building over this thing. Brad Keselowski's hanging with Kyle Busch. He has lost a little bit of ground the last couple laps. Is there going to be another caution? What kind of strategies are going to be? Is the 22 going to be able to run down the 18? And how's it all going to play out?
Yeah, it looks like Brad was trying a few different things here to try to see if he could make up that ground. He had closed right to the bumper. Now, you know, when that happens, your car changes some, and you know the aero. We talk about how that aero effect is when you're running right behind somebody, and I think that Brad's just trying to figure out if there's any other line available to him.
Yeah, and I think maybe sometimes he was pretty much committed to the bottom. Sometimes you run that so hard, you might run the right front tire off of it a little bit, so you have to move around. We've seen him searching, see if that high line might work for him. His car's best at the bottom, but sometimes you have to go up there and just cool that tire off a little bit, and then you can make another run at him. So you can see Kyle has stretched it back out a little bit.
I was just saying, by the way, another change. We've talked about this several times, but a little bit of cloud cover over that turn 4. It's not as bright and sunny beating down on the track as it was before. So maybe that's taken away from the run the 22 was having a minute ago.
It definitely changes it. I mean, it doesn't just change every car exactly the same way. It depends on how your car is set up.
And don't think, as we see Ryan Newman here battling with Kevin Harvick for that 7th spot, but don't forget that maybe Kyle Busch also was saving a little bit of fuel during that time.
Yeah, because that's hanging out there too.
Oh yeah, they're going to have to go almost to the very end of their window if they make it here on this, if it goes green the rest of the way.
So Newman there in 7th place. Kevin Harvick in 8th. Harvick, somebody that was on the charge early in the race, but just hasn't worked for him. Jason Leffler behind them in the 10. solid run, but again, he was up in the top 5 a little while ago.
Yeah, I think it's like you said, Alan. It's track temperature changes. It affects some cars, and Leffler was up there when the track was a little different. Now he's struggling just a little bit, but he's still in the top 10. Shannon?
Well, guys, it's really been a tale of 2 seasons for Jason Leffler. The first 9 races, he really struggled. The past 3, he's really come alive, and Leffler gives a lot of credit to the fact that every weekend when they unload since Darlington, they've unloaded exactly like their teammates. He said before Darlington, they were really off on an island on their own, and now he can go to his teammates, he can talk to crew chiefs and the drivers, and get a feel for what he should be feeling in that car. He says it's really helped with the program, and it's given him a lot of confidence, and he is having a great run today, from 40th up into the top 10.
Another solid result for Jason Leffler, and you know, again, he was up a little farther forward during the race, but considering where he'd been at the beginning of the season, they've really got it going pretty well. Really haven't talked much about Carl Edwards, who started on the pole for this race and kind of faded back a little bit. He's been hanging in the middle part of the top 10 for most of the day.
Well, Goodyear came with a new left side tire for these cars, and it's tightened a lot of them up. And I talked to a lot of the teams. They said that they really had to change their setup. Kevin Harvick said he didn't have anything like what he has raced here before. That's a good combination to run a fast qualifying lap, and we saw Carl Edwards do that. But sometimes if you take advantage of that for qualifying, it can kill you when the race starts, and that might be what they've been facing and struggling with all day.
Yeah, we've heard a lot of these guys trying to free these cars up, and that's what these guys were telling me. I was asking them about the difference in this racetrack daytime and night, and they were saying, you know, as strange as it may seem, we lose the front a lot more. The cars won't turn as good, so they're having to really loosen these cars up a lot. They don't have as much stagger with these new tires that you're talking about, Andy, so that's created a problem of having to free them up. Mike, what do you got on the car?
Well, it's interesting, you guys talking about just about everybody in the garage complaining that their cars were tight early on during practice. Well, that was the case for me doing my research as well, except for when I spoke with Carl. He told me his car going into this race was a little bit loose. That, however, has not been the case throughout the course of the day. It got much tighter as the day wore on. In fact, it was so tight the last stop, they added 2 pounds of air pressure to the left front tire. It seems to have helped, but that car was tight prior to that.
Yeah, sometimes you see these guys that get the pole and they're not all that excited about it because they get worried that uh-oh, maybe my car is too good qualifying, and it might be that I struggle in the race, and that's a little bit of what Carl has faced today.
So Carl Edwards running there now in 7th spot, and the struggle to get that first win of 2010 continues for this 60 team and for Ford in general.
Yeah, and you see one thing Carl Edwards also sees is he's losing more points to the points leader, so that's not a good thing.
Now, we mentioned Brian Eichler a minute ago, the 24-year-old San Diego native in his first drive for Roush Fenway Racing. Dave, he got that free pass a little while ago, and he's hung on to this lead lap for a bit.
Yeah, Alan, it has not been a perfect day, but it's been a good day for Brian Eichler. His first start for Roush Fenway Racing this year, his 4th in the Nationwide Series. He overshot his pit during the green flags pit stops around laps 58 and 59, and then they fought a tight race car, but on that last pit stop they made an adjustment and felt like it's quite a bit better for this young rookie. Alan?
Told you.
Looks like the 99 got the wall there off 4. Yeah, you're right, Al. You're always right, doggone.
No, it's all in the numbers.
Yeah, I know.
Trevor Bayne into the wall. Caution is out with 14 laps to go. Second yellow flag involving this 99 car in a row. Now what do you do?
Whew, man, this is going to be a tough one. Tough one to call right here.
All right, well,
if I'm Kyle Busch's crew chief, I believe I'm going to get 2 tires to try to get out there with track position, because I don't think they can pass him if he has that position, even with maybe better tires.
He's been running right up against the wall. I'd watched him for a number of laps. He was really making some pretty good time, but ran out of room right there. Scraped a lot of pieces coming off of it.
So we got, just kind of button a couple things up here, Andy. We got 13 cars on the lead lap. There'll be a 14th with, no, there won't be a free pass, I'm told, because Trevor Bayne was running in the free pass spot. So you're going to have 13 cars on the lead lap. You're going to have about 10 laps to go. Double file restart.
I still want to be up front. I know tires might be worth a little bit, but I want to be up front. What do you think, Brian? If you're a driver, what are you asking me for?
I'm gonna put it back on you and say I don't know.
There you go.
I think I agree with you. Track position is very important, especially at a race like this. It looks like that's what
looks like
that's
some
what
of them
Kyle
are staying
thinks.
out, so they have enough fuel to make it.
Yeah, there's a couple of guys that think track position is really important. They're going to take no tires. You're going to see some guys get 2 and probably some get 4.
First and second stayed out. Everybody else on the lead lap, save but one, has come to pit road for at least some tires. Let's see what they do here. Dave?